This gameplay video is brought to you by very generous patron Shuffles. Sheoldred the Apocalypse versus partners Sakashima and Krark, Thassa and Piru. So close to being a good hand. Are we gonna make a land in our first two draws? Too risky for me. Okay, getting to a similar hand there, so yeah, I think that's alright. As a two-lander, we can keep that. A turn 1 Soul Ring from Thassa. It's a Preordain from the Izzet player. And they did scry 2 cards to the bottom there, so could well be that they drew into a card they didn't like as well. Drawing to a swamp for the turn, so we've got our 3 swamps for the Phyrexian Arena. Got our first 3 turns sorted out, I think. Don't normally play Phyrexian Arena because it's way too slow. If you can get it out within the first 3 turns, it can be alright. And we are up against, a couple of blue and red players, so yeah, may well keep the Phyrexian Arena in play for the rest of the game. And obviously it's good with the Sheoldred because it's gain 1 life and draw a card at the beginning of each upkeep. Thassa Deep Dwelling on turn 2. Drawing 2 Malicious Affliction this turn. It is obviously the Arcane Signet here. Boros Garrison from Piru, so just bouncing the tap land, which they're going to have to get out again. People really rave about the tap lands. I've never gotten along with them myself. In a lands matter deck where you want to guarantee land drops and trigger landfall a lot and stuff, I can kind of get it, but yeah, I never got along with those bounce lands myself, partly because they're tap lands. I just don't like tap lands in general. A Cavalier of Gales, the mono blue player, going hard here. Obviously flickering the Cavalier of Gales at the end of the turn with Thassa. Tempting to go for the Sheoldred here, drawing to a swamp is excellent. Yeah, tempted to do that with the Cavalier of Gales in play, but there's double blue mana held up here, so there's every chance we don't land it. I'll just stick with the plan of the Phyrexian Arena. Priority is being held up by the Izzet player, and they decide to let that down. Talisman of Conviction from the Mardu player. The Cavalier, pretty predictably, swings in towards us. 5 damage from the Cavalier. And then of course flickering the Cavalier of Gales for another Brainstorm. Don't think they've made use of a shuffle effect yet, so I'm not sure how much damage that's really doing for us. Well, the 2 blue players just holding up mana through our turns, so this might be a long and arduous one. Drawing to a couple of lands, clearing those off the top, we'll get down the black mana. And I think I'll try and go for a Demonic Tutor here. Don't think we have Cavern of Souls in the deck, unfortunately. So I'll just start trying to get ahead on mana, I think, and we'll get out the Cabal Coffers here. And then I'll hold up the Malicious Affliction. Not seeing anything from the Mardu player on their turn either. If they want to counter the Malicious Affliction on the Cavalier, then we'll make the blue player do it on their turn. And make it look like it's punishment for them attacking us, assuming they do it again. Cycling a Lonely Sandbar. It's a shame we haven't been able to get Sheoldred out here. Alright, not swinging in towards us, going in at the Izzet player, so we'll hold on to the Malicious Affliction, I think. Actually, it'd be good if we got them to play Krark or another creature, another spell or something. Yeah, we deal a fair amount of damage here. We're taking away their card draw, their means of dealing damage, and we might get a counter magic spell out of their hand here, so yeah, deciding on the removal spell. They decide to keep hold of it. So they shuffle it into the library and then scry 2. And the plan's somewhat working there. Krark the Thumbless comes into play. See if they continue to hold up mana. Yeah, they do. Alright, getting into an Urborg as well, which is really good with the Cabal Coffers. We've only got 7 mana available to us here if we play Coffers. So maybe go for the Fate Unraveler, I think. Throw out the Cabal Coffers and play the Fate Unraveler. The mono blue player scoops. By far in the best position and just deciding to quit on us. Fate Unraveler's just that damn scary apparently. Don't have to spend the next 6 weeks playing around a mono blue player at least. Phyrexian Purge going on to the 2 creatures. Destroy any number of creatures. It costs 3 more to cast for each target, so they pay 4 mana and 3 life there. And there we see a Mystical Tutor. That will trigger the Krark the Thumbless. Not really much point in getting multiple copies of Mystical Tutor because you shuffle between each tutor. But they do get a copy of that regardless. Maybe they'll be able to draw into the Mystical Tutor before the original one resolves. They might have Thrill Possibility or something. No, apparently not. They went for Mana Leak first and now they've shuffled that away. It is a Pyretic Ritual that they are about to get into. Oh good, that shows you the type of deck this is. Baral, Chief of Compliance, into play. Draw into a couple of lands, we'll drop the Urborg and we'll force them to counter the Sheoldred now, I think. That is allowed to come down. Let's play the Font of Mythos. Try and make our opponents draw a bunch of cards and lose a load of life. Need to start drawing into non-land permanents at this point, really. So our opponent's going to lose 6 life every turn as it stands now. They lose 2 life from the draw step and then 4 life from the Font of Mythos. Not to mention all the other card draw that they might get into. Temple of the False God, nowhere near as bad thanks to our Urborg. But that is their 5th land anyway, so taps for 2. And there we see Piru the Volatile come into play. When it dies, it's 7 damage to each non-legendary creature. There are no non-legendary creatures in play at the moment, so not particularly bothered about that. Well, the Forbidden Orchard will put one in play, under the Izzet player's control. The Izzet player going down to 29, they've got 8 cards in hand at the main phase. And the Izzet player continuing to not do anything. That is a dual caster mage that they discard, 7 cards in hand. We draw into a Teferi's Puzzle Box, which I don't mind at all playing into here. Seeing a Scourge Familiar to make some additional mana. And a Peer into the Abyss as well. So, I think it can be a Reliquary Tower. Tap the Cabal Coffers for 7 mana. And I don't think we're going to land a Peer into the Abyss. We could take someone out here, but yeah. Anything that we go for with regards to potentially winning the game is just going to play into the Izzet player's hand, I think. So let's go for the Teferi's Puzzle Box and then play the Scourge Familiar as well. It's good to just have it in play, I think. And then play the Scourge Familiar. I don't think they're going to let Piru die here. I think they'll keep it in play for another turn or two. Yeah, we'll just discard a Swamp and a Swamp here. Let's go for Infernal Offering. Alright, and Izzet player, is this the one that you counter? Alright, fine. A Remand. Yeah, fine. Wasn't particularly bothered about landing the Infernal Offering. If I'd pointed it over here, I would have just had them get rid of the Spirit Token, reanimate the Fate Unraveler, and they could have just blown up 2 of our creatures with Piru if anyone was that worried about them anyway. Anyhow, the Remand does count as a counter, even though it goes back to hand, so Baral, Chief of Compliance, is going to draw them a card there. Oh, but they decided not to draw there because they didn't discard. They did draw a card and lose 2 life to the Remand though, because that cantrips. So down to 27. And let's swing in towards the Izzet player here. If they've got removal for the Sheoldred, then I dare say they'll use it anyway, throwing the Spirit Token in the way. So time to see if we lose our Scourge Familiar here. They should probably leave the Piru in play, I would think. And they are paying into it here, as they should. The Forbidden Orchard going to trigger again, giving the Spirit Token to the same player. Then we go through to the draw step. They draw a card, losing 2 to Sheoldred. Then we'll put Teferi's Puzzle Box on the stack, so we want them to draw with the Font of Mythos first, putting more cards in their hand. That means they shuffle more cards in and draw more cards. Down to 22 before the Puzzle Box triggers, or resolves. Risky giving them the card draw beforehand, because maybe we just got them into instant speed removal for Sheoldred. Well, apparently not. They draw into a fresh grip of 10 thanks to the Teferi's Puzzle Box, and that will whack them for 20 thanks to Sheoldred. Shocked we haven't seen removal for our commander yet. Okay, an Undying Evil onto the Piru. Not sure what the aim is there. Okay, and then they cast Mortify onto their own Piru. Yeah, don't think that does what they think it does. So all they really did was get rid of a Scourge Familiar, a Spirit Token, and put a plus counter on the Piru. So they go down to 13, they'll have to discard a card to hand size. Unless they play a Plains, which they have here. Now at the end of the Izzet player's turn, they are casting Suspend. Exile a creature with 2 time counters on it. Yes, I will put it into the command zone. I don't want to wait for the Sheoldred. I want to continue to force my opponent to have a counter spell for it. Once again, going to let my opponent draw into the 2 cards from the Font of Mythos and then shuffle it all around. Dropping a Cephalid Colosseum, which they can tap for black mana if they don't want to take life. We've got them into a Sol Ring. This is the problem with Draw Pain, is you can't keep your pain effects in play then. You're literally just drawing your opponent's cards, throwing the Krark into play again. Oh, and that's annoying. I didn't realise. I've only just looked at the chat. Yeah, apparently this is a CEDH deck that we're playing against, so yeah, so the power level's a bit mixed-matched here. And their game plan made even easier by the fact that we're drawing them into a crap load of cards. Then going for a frantic search, we'll untap a couple of lands, unless the Krark counters the original. So going for the frantic search again, and they do get a copy this time. So for 4 mana they end up untapping 6 lands here, and they've discarded 3 lands and a Quicken. Then Sakashima of 1,000 Faces coming in as a copy of Krark. They've gone for a Braid onto the Font of Mythos, that's all it hit though. Drawing into a card from the Phyrexian Arena, and once again it's another land, so we will shuffle these away now with the Teferi's Puzzle Box. Okay, gets us into some more draw pain stuff. No lands, amazingly. So tap down Cabal Coffers for 7 again. Get down the Sheoldred into play once again. And then we can go Baleful Mastery here, I think. We've got enough mana, so maybe we just go after the Sakashima. Yeah, going after Baral I don't think does as much as we would like it to, annoyingly. They'll draw a card here because we're playing Baleful Mastery for 2 mana. Let's go Dorothy Voidwalker here so that we can start exiling people's stuff as well. Might be useful against the Izzet player specifically. And then I think we drop down the Phyrexian Reclamation so that we can keep our Sheoldred in play, and we'll just throw down a Sensei's Top to save mana next turn. And then during the next upkeep, if we keep our Sheoldred in play, we can maybe go for Phyrexian Reclamation during the upkeep and grab some creatures out of the bin ready to shuffle back into the library and draw more with the puzzle box. Okay, Piru's gone into the exile zone there for some reason. But it doesn't matter anyway, we got them with the Teferi's Puzzle Box here, so let's see if we can beat a CEDH deck with a non-CEDH deck. Highly doubt it, especially when we're feeding them so much card draw. Might not be able to do anything about this Sheoldred though. Well, got a bunch of Sheoldred triggers on the stack there, so plummet them down to 3. And they better be careful about drawing cards now while Sheoldred's in play. Okay, and just getting them to scoop there, so I'll be honest, that feels pretty good beating an apparently CEDH deck. I don't know anything about this deck and CEDH and all that, but I mean there's a bunch of low CMC stuff that they're playing, and they did say that it's pretty much CEDH, so managing to beat that one out somehow. Some of the cards that we might have drawn into over the next few turns, yeah, nothing too incredibly impressive. Temple Bell might have been able to do some work for us, but yeah, pretty much winning off the back of the Teferi's Puzzle Box there. Anyhow, hopefully you all enjoyed this brief visit to Sheoldred the Apocalypse in multiplayer. If you want to see more from it, then be sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and help push it out to other potential viewers. Massive thank you to the patrons as ever. If you want to support financially, then you can do so via the link in the description below, just like they do. Huge thank you to them again. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.
You